A man brought his guinea pig into my clinic because she had suddenly stopped using her back left foot properly. He was certain something had happened overnight, maybe a fall from the sofa, maybe a fight with her cage mate. I lifted her gently and turned her paw over, and her nail had curled almost a full circle back into the soft pad of her own foot. It had likely been growing that way for months, slowly, quietly, with nobody in the household ever turning her paw over to look properly. She had not fallen at all. She had not been fighting with anyone in her cage. She had simply been walking day after day on a nail that was actively pressing into her own flesh with every single step she took across that cage floor. I am Rue. I see small pets, and nails are one of the most overlooked parts of basic care in this entire species. They sit somewhere nobody thinks to check unless they already suspect a problem is there. It is easy to spend months focused on hay, cage size, and diet while never once turning a paw over to look underneath. Nothing about a healthy-looking guinea pig prompts that particular check on its own. Here is why this happens so easily and so quietly. In the wild, guinea pigs wear their nails down naturally by digging, foraging, and moving constantly across rough, varied ground for most of their waking hours. A guinea pig living in a cage, even a very good one, walks across soft bedding and flat plastic most of the day. There is nothing in that environment doing the job that rough natural terrain used to do for free. That means nail growth in a captive guinea pig is almost entirely unchecked by anything in its daily environment. Left alone, nails simply keep growing in a slow curve for the animal's entire life, with nothing to interrupt that process. This is different from a dog's nails, which at least get some wear from regular walks on pavement. A guinea pig gets no such natural wear at all, which is exactly why this becomes entirely the owner's responsibility from day one. It is also different from a rabbit, whose nails tend to grow more slowly and whose feet are built differently for the digging and thumping this species does. Guinea pigs are simply built to need this checked more often than most owners coming from another small pet ever expect. Nobody hands you a schedule for this when you bring a guinea pig home. Most new owners are told about hay, about vegetables, about cage size, and nails simply never come up at all until something has already gone wrong. That gap is exactly what today is about closing. This is one of the cheapest and simplest pieces of prevention available in the entire hobby, and almost nobody is told it needs to happen on a schedule. Here is what actually happens as nails go unmanaged and why it matters more than it looks like it should from the outside. Number 1. The curve itself is the core problem. Nails do not grow straight forward forever. They curve, and the longer they go untrimmed, the tighter that curve becomes, until eventually the tip begins pressing back into the pad of the foot itself. By the time you can see this happening with the naked eye, the nail has usually already been pressing into soft tissue for some time. This is exactly the kind of hazard that hides in plain sight simply because nobody thinks to turn a paw over and look underneath. A guinea pig cannot tell you a nail is starting to hurt with each step. It simply adjusts quietly the way this whole species adjusts to almost everything, right up until adjusting is no longer physically possible. Number 2. Overgrown nails change how a guinea pig actually walks, often in ways owners read as simple clumsiness or age. A guinea pig compensating for painful pressure on one foot will shift its weight unevenly, which over months can affect posture and joint health well beyond that one foot. What looks like a guinea pig simply slowing down or losing some of its usual spring can actually be a nail problem nobody has ever checked for. This is one of the more common hidden causes behind a guinea pig that owners describe as just getting a bit stiffer with age. Genuine age-related stiffness is real and does happen in older guinea pigs. What separates the two is that a nail problem is fixable in a single afternoon, while owners who never check feet simply assume nothing can be done and stop looking any further. Number 3. Black nails hide the danger far more than pale nails do. On a pale nail, the pink quick, the living blood supply inside the nail is usually visible enough to judge roughly where it ends. On a black nail, that same quick is completely invisible from the outside. This is exactly why black-nailed guinea pigs are more likely to end up with a genuine overgrowth problem. Nervous owners avoid trimming what they cannot clearly see, and the nail simply keeps growing unchecked in the meantime. A simple workaround many experienced keepers use is a small flashlight held just behind the nail. Enough light passes through even a dark nail to make the quick faintly visible as a slightly darker shadow inside it, which takes most of the guesswork out of judging where it actually ends. Number 4. A guinea pig with overgrown nails is at real risk of a torn nail during ordinary movement, not just from an accident. A nail caught in fabric, in a fleece liner, or snagged on a piece of cage furniture can tear partway, which is genuinely painful and can bleed more than owners expect from something so small. This is one of the more common reasons for an unplanned same-day vet visit in this species, and it is almost entirely preventable with a schedule most owners simply never establish in the first place. Number 5. Overgrown nails can also affect grip on smooth surfaces like tile or hard plastic flooring. A guinea pig struggling for traction because its nails have grown into an awkward shape is more likely to slip during normal movement. That is a real and completely avoidable fall risk in an animal that already has fragile bones for its size. Number 6. Nail length is not the same across every guinea pig, and comparing your guinea pig to a friend's is not a reliable way to judge whether a trim is due. Genetics, activity level, and even the texture of the bedding used all affect how quickly nails grow in any individual animal. The only reliable way to judge whether a trim is due is checking the actual foot itself on a regular schedule, rather than guessing from memory or comparing against a different guinea pig entirely. Number 7. Most guinea pigs need a nail check roughly every 4 to 6 weeks, though this varies by individual. A guinea pig on a rough textured surface for part of each day may need checking less often than one living entirely on soft fleece or paper bedding. This is worth building into the same weekly routine as a general health check, so it never becomes something that only gets remembered once a problem has already developed. If you want more practical ways to catch small guinea pig problems before they turn into painful ones, subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Many owners choose to have a vet nurse, or a small pet groomer handle nail trims rather than doing it themselves at home, and there is nothing wrong with that choice at all. A professional nail trim typically costs somewhere between 10 and 25 pounds depending on your area, which is a genuinely small price against the alternative. The alternative is a torn nail, an infected quick, or a foot that has been quietly reshaping itself around a curling nail for months without anyone noticing that anything was ever wrong. Whichever option you personally choose, what actually matters most is that it happens on a real, fixed schedule, rather than only when someone finally happens to notice a problem. Number 9. A nail that has already grown into the pad needs a same-day vet visit, not a home fix attempted with regular household nail clippers. Beyond the pain involved, a nail embedded in tissue carries a real infection risk once it is finally removed, and that removal is not something to attempt without proper guidance. Number 10. Watch for a guinea pig suddenly reluctant to walk on a particular surface, or one that seems to favor one foot over the others during normal movement. Both are common early signals of a nail or foot problem, and both are worth a same-day check before anything looks obviously wrong to the eye. Number 11. If you keep more than one guinea pig, check every single animal individually rather than assuming that because one looks fine, they all do. A shyer or more submissive guinea pig in a group is often the one whose feet get checked least, purely because it is harder to handle and easier to leave alone. That is exactly the animal most likely to end up with an overlooked problem, simply because handling it is less pleasant for everyone involved, including the guinea pig itself. Number 12. A guinea pig that struggles hard during handling is not being difficult on purpose, and fighting through that struggle to force a check is rarely the right answer. Two people, one to hold gently and one to look, turns a stressful wrestling match into a calm 30-second check for almost any guinea pig. Wrapping a nervous guinea pig loosely in a small towel with just the foot being checked left free also helps enormously. It gives the animal something to feel secure against, rather than the open, exposed feeling of being held with nothing around it at all. Number 13. Diet plays a real role in nail and foot health that many owners never connect to nail problems specifically. A guinea pig on a poor diet lacking proper vitamin C can develop weaker connective tissue throughout the body, including in the feet themselves. This does not mean diet alone prevents overgrown nails, since nails will keep growing regardless of what a guinea pig eats. It does mean a guinea pig on a genuinely good diet tends to have healthier, more resilient feet generally. That matters when a foot is already under some strain from a nail that has gone a little too long. Number 14. Cage flooring matters more than most owners realize when it comes to overall foot health, not just nail length. Wire flooring, still sold in some starter cages despite being widely discouraged by experienced keepers, can catch and strain nails in a way that solid flooring simply does not. A solid floor with soft bedding on top removes an entire category of foot injury risk that has nothing to do with trimming schedules at all. This is worth checking in any cage, new or existing, regardless of how carefully nails themselves are being managed. Here is what you can actually do tonight with everything covered above. Gently pick up each guinea pig in your home and turn each paw over, just enough to see the nail against the pad clearly in decent light. Look specifically for any nail beginning to curve back toward the foot itself, rather than growing forward and slightly down the way a healthy nail normally does. If anything looks like it is already touching or pressing into the pad, that is worth a same-day call rather than something to simply keep an eye on. If every nail still looks like it is growing forward with plenty of clearance, make a note of today's date and set a reminder for 4 to 6 weeks from now to check again. This single check costs nothing and takes under a minute per guinea pig once you know what you are actually looking for. While you have each guinea pig up for its foot check, take the same minute to glance at the cage flooring itself. Confirm there is no exposed wire mesh anywhere a foot could actually catch. Confirm the bedding underneath is thick enough to cushion normal movement rather than worn thin in the well-traveled spots. If you decide professional trimming is the right choice for your household, book that appointment this week rather than waiting for the next routine visit that happens to already be on the calendar. A dedicated nail appointment is usually quick, inexpensive, and gives you a chance to ask directly whether the quick looks like it needs to recede further before the next trim. If you are trimming at home, small animal-specific clippers designed for this exact job matter more than people expect. Human nail clippers or scissors not designed for a guinea pig's nail shape increase the risk of a rough or crushed cut rather than a clean one, even in careful hands. I've put together a simple foot check guide with photographs showing exactly what a normal nail looks like next to one that has gone too long without attention. It is linked below if you want a clear reference to compare against rather than guessing from memory alone. None of this replaces your own vet, and a nail already pressing into the pad is not something to handle at home with household scissors or clippers. What this habit gives you is the chance to catch the problem while it is still just a slightly long nail, long before it ever becomes a foot that has quietly reshaped itself around one. The man whose guinea pig had a nail curled into her own pad brought her back 6 weeks after her foot had properly healed. He had started checking every paw on all 3 of his guinea pigs on a set schedule, exactly as I had asked him to. He told me he genuinely could not believe how easy it was once he actually knew what he was looking for. What had felt like an intimidating, almost surgical task in his head turned out to be a paw, a bit of decent light, and about 10 seconds per foot. He said the hardest part had never really been the checking itself. It had simply been not knowing this was something he was supposed to be doing at all, the same gap almost every new owner falls into without ever being told. He also mentioned something worth passing on to anyone nervous about doing this for the first time. He had spent months avoiding a proper look at her feet purely because he was worried about what he might find, and worried he would not know what to do about it once he found it. Once he actually looked, the checking itself took less time than he had spent worrying about it the night before. The fear of finding a problem, it turns out, is almost always worse than the small, manageable reality of actually catching one early. That is the pattern I see over and over again in this job. Owners delay a simple checkout of a vague dread of what they might find. That delay itself is usually the only thing that ever turns a small, easy fix into a genuinely painful problem for the animal involved. There is no version of this where checking sooner makes things worse for anyone. The absolute worst outcome of looking today is finding out everything is completely fine, which costs you a single calm minute and nothing else at all. So tonight, before anything else, pick up each guinea pig you have and take a proper look at all 4 feet under decent light. It costs nothing, and it takes less than a minute per animal. It is the difference between catching a curling nail early and discovering one the way that man eventually did, only after it had already become a genuine problem for both of them.